Thank you so much. I yield back, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. General, thank you for being here. I want to talk with you a little bit about ISR in the CENTCOM area. And I know you've got a lot of partners in that area, but what percentage of the ISR does the United States provide?
I'm not sure I can tell you what the percentage overall is. I mean, it's very clear that the majority of the ISR in the region is being provided by the United States.
What about the DoD's capacity to meet the demand for ISR? Do you have enough ISR currently?
Well, I think, Congressman, I don't think you're going to find any commander that's going to say that he has enough ISR. We right now today have the largest concentration of MQ-9s down in Kandahar Airfield, designed to support General Nicholson and his forces, and I know he would, and that's adequate for what he needs right now. But given his own druthers, I'm sure he'd want more, and so we would want more in all these areas.
I understand that the Army in some ways and commanders are agnostic as to the different platforms that ISR may come from. But I assume that when it comes to providing additional ISR, the commanders would not be agnostic to the timeline to get new SR to the field. Would that be a fair statement?
That's right. I think the faster we can continue to provide those capabilities, the better.
So one of my concerns, and I certainly have a tremendous amount of respect for the Secretary of Defense and the Secretary of the Air Force as well. But as they've changed the strategy to more of a China or a Russia strategy, they are canceling the procurement, or have proposed to cancel the procurement of items that are not capable of flying against the Russians or the Chinese in a direct conflict with the Russians and the Chinese. One of these platforms is the new JSTARS, the recapitalization of the JSTARS, which we have spent hundreds of millions to develop and are now currently ready to purchase. And they have proposed to cancel the procurement of the JSTARS because they've said that they're going to use a system that has not been developed yet, which obviously changes the timeline on when we can deliver that system to you. I guess my question is, do the systems that you use in Central Command have to be survivable, if you will, in a conflict that would be as high-end as that between the Russians and the Chinese, a direct conflict?
Well, they don't necessarily need to be. I mean, the environment is different in parts of CENTCOM than it might be in other parts of the world. So, you know, some of the requirements that I have, the environment that we operate in, are probably different than what Admiral Harris and others are, and General Scaparrotti, deal with in PACOM and UCOM, respectively here.
Yes, sir. I would appreciate any advocacy you could have. I agree with you 100%, and I'm not opposed to the DoD developing the system that they want for the fight against the Russians and the Chinese. But even in developing that system, we don't want to use that system unless we have to, because we don't want the Russians and the Chinese to be able to gather the intel that they're going to gather from it every time we fly it. So certainly continue to be concerned about, as we shift in strategy to China and Russia, abandoning platforms that work in the other parts of the world, which are very serious fights that we're in and that you're commanding right now. I'm down to about a minute, but just briefly, if you would, again, I've been on the border of Syria, in Israel. The military objectives in Syria, can you just outline for us what they are again, very briefly?
Well, specifically, it's principally it's to ensure an enduring defeat of ISIS is what the principal objective is of our military campaign right now in Syria. Certainly we're concerned about weapons of mass destruction in terms of some of their chemical capabilities, as you've seen in the past. We're obviously very concerned about making sure we can provide the humanitarian aid, the stability that goes along with getting people back into their homes. We're concerned about making sure that we protect allies that are on the flanks of Syria, Jordan, Lebanon, Turkey, that all feel the impacts of that. And of course, we're very keen to ensure that there's a political resolution to all of this. Of course, that's beyond my military.
General, my time's expired, but it's a tough situation. I'm glad that we have a leader like you over there, and thank you for your service.